This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Tom, it's been a lot of fun watching Daniel Gafford in the playoffs lately. That's what we were just talking about. And I know it hasn't been as much fun watching Arkansas baseball, who's lost 7 of 10. Some people have said they're limping into this regional. I wouldn't characterize it as that. But it was interesting to hear Dave kind of talk yesterday about maybe them being a little ticked off about how they concluded their season. What did you take away from what Dave Van Horn had to say, not just about the conclusion of their season, but kind of how this regional sets up for them?
Right. Well, good morning to everybody. He likes that it's a true regional, that, you know, nobody's more than about 6 hours drive away, with SEMO being the longest. But they really have some hard thinking to do, looking at the splits for hitters for Southeast Missouri and also for both, you know, La Tech and Kansas State, as to how to best deploy Hagen Smith. Because it's all about what pieces of the puzzle do we put together to win and get out of this regional. And so when do we pitch Hagen Smith? And then how do we maximize the innings of anyone else that they choose to pitch? And so based on recent results, it's just hard to put a finger on who might start. I mean, Mason Molina's looked great out of the bullpen. Brady Tigert didn't look so good. You know, he didn't field a ball and gave up a home run ball. And so you combine that with all the different batting orders they've used, and I found it interesting that he said, I've got one order that that I want to go with against lefties and one against righties. So maybe they're trying to settle guys into roles that they know they'll have. But I don't know if limping is the way, but when you lose 7 out of 10, searching for answers, trying to get certain guys hot is a way I would describe it.
Well, and searching for a dominant number 2 starter. Arkansas's had that in the past behind a pitcher of the year type player like you have this year, but you've always had that number 2 that you could rely on, or not always, you have had in the past. Arkansas doesn't have a number 2 right now that you feel like, hey, you can turn the ball over to them against the number 4 seed and feel very comfortable and confident there. That's what makes this decision such a conversation.
It really does. And, I mean, a few years ago, Caleb Bolden got the start against New Jersey Tech. And you remember that one turned into Tech scored a bunch of runs, and Arkansas had to run some other pitchers out there, and it threw that regional into a different, kind of spin. And I mean, they got away with it. But anyway, yes, they're facing the same kind of situation here. And the big question being, can Mason Molina find the right mindset, the right approach to give you 5 innings as a starter? Because I think if you got 5 innings giving up 1 or 2 runs from Mason Molina, that you would take that. But how do you deploy that? Is that a 3-inning stint here, a 2-inning stint there? I don't know. And they've got to find out how healthy everyone is and how they feel. But beyond those, Molina, Smith, and Tiger. Do you trust Gage Wood in a start? Do you trust Will McIntyre in a start? So they got some really interesting puzzlers facing them.
And we're talking about Hagen Smith. We haven't mentioned it this morning, but Dave kind of got a little testy at the end of the press conference. He was angry that the broadcasters for last week's game against Kentucky thought that Hagen's velo was off. Apparently, it was just the why am I blanking on whatever the
TrackMan?
Yeah, the TrackMan that on the board was off, and Tom he basically said that
the radar gun,
the radar gun was on the scoreboard was off by 4 or 5 miles an hour. So there doesn't seem to be any concern with Hagen heading into this weekend. I know some people were wondering why his velo was down. Apparently, it was just a technical malfunction last weekend.
That appears to be the case, and it's interesting that, I mean, sitting in the press box that day and listening to the broadcast and watching things live, you're like, And so they're saying it out loud on the broadcast, Tom Hart and Kyle Peterson, whoever else was on there, that it was down a few miles. But they were relying on the in-park gun. And, that's a bit of a fault of the reporters on scene that we didn't ask him about. I mean, we were asked about Hagen Smith's performance, but not the velo part. And so we didn't realize that the gun was that far off. And, yeah, he got a little bit worked up over that. I guess, the insinuation that the Arkansas ace is out there and, it has lost some velocity.
Yeah.
We all fall too much in love with velocity anyway, I think.
Yeah, but it was but again, it was incorrect what was actually because the scouts had the radar guns. Basically, what Dave laid it out, scouts had the radar guns. It was the normal stuff. Just didn't appear that way on television when you watched it. Tom, what did you think about? So I know you guys left early because Arkansas went 0-2 in barbecue and came back home, but you had a really good finish in the SEC tournament in Hoover. Nearly 200,000 people attended. It was 180 something to be exact. LSU ends up falling to Tennessee. They win 2 out of 3, and the SEC gets 11 teams. What did you think about the conference's performance, not just this past week, but how many teams they were able to get, which is a conference record?
Yeah, well, I mean, a bit unprecedented. 5 seeded teams, top 8, 4 out of the top 5, with Arkansas being 5. The fans were there. I mean, LSU made a nice run. I mean, they got off the carpet. I saw on the show that no SEC team ever had started conference at, I think it was 3-12 maybe, or 3-9. I can't remember, but no conference team had ever had that kind of start and gone on to make the NCAA tournament. So a lot of their fans were there. They travel, including the guy who starts all the cheers. And then Tennessee brought a good number of fans. Volunteer baseball under Tony Vitello is a real deal. It's a powerful entity, and so the SEC. I mean, Tennessee made a nice run from the losers bracket, which you don't see very often, and used a lot of different pitchers in short stints, and so hopefully they have their pitching on track for when they reach the regional this week. But 11 teams in the field, amazing. All of the 13 and 17 teams made it because they had great strength of schedules and great RPIs, including Florida, which is one game above 500.
So how did you feel about the draw that Arkansas had? You mentioned the 4 teams, and everyone's within 6 or 7 hours of Fayetteville. You're opposite the Virginia Regional, which also features Mississippi State. Arkansas is the number 5 overall national seed. What was your feel about the committee's work, not just with Arkansas, but the SEC and the 64-team field as a whole?
Right. Well, it looks like the Razorbacks slotted right about in where all the prognosticators thought, at number 5, and that's probably about right. I mean, their body of work was tremendous. They were ranked number 1 so much of the season before the late drop-off. And I don't know if you just can read anything into it or not. I mean, they've overcome 0-2 in 2022 and made the College World Series. I thought it was a solid regional. One of the outlets projected this exact field, I believe. And so my alma mater, Louisiana Tech, will be here with Ethan Bates, former Razorback, so that'll be cool. And while I'm thinking about this, how about North Carolina? They get LSU in their regional. So somebody was going to be unfortunate to catch super hot LSU. And I like them being paired up against Virginia. Doesn't mean anything to Dave Van Horn probably, but 2014, they went over there in Charlottesville, and Virginia beat them twice. And so, you can get back at them 10 years later if you happen to match up. But if Arkansas gets out of this, I would not be shocked at all if Mississippi State Bulldogs are not back here for the second time in 4 weeks.
And if you can make it out of the regional and the super regional, and there's a lot of baseball between now and then, and LSU did the same, it would be Arkansas and LSU squaring off first in Omaha.
Yeah, I mean, A&M would be the 4, and so they would match up, I suppose, with North Carolina. And A&M finished the season a little bit like Arkansas. There was a point where the SEC West was in doubt with 3 weeks to go. I thought A&M was going to go on the road, and they had LSU and Ole Miss back-to-back and wound up going 2-4 in those. And that really allowed Arkansas to hold on and win the division. So the Aggies are not playing well. They went 2 in barbecue in Hoover as well. So, so the 4 and 5 teams from the SEC, or national seeds, both from the SEC, trying to find their answers as they enter the real heart of the postseason.
And you look ahead, Oklahoma and Texas both in the field. Oklahoma, who will join the league with Texas in about 35 or 40 days, or less than 40 days. Oklahoma's the 9 seed, and you got Texas stuck in that College Station regional. So there's some interesting stuff and 2 teams and 2 programs worth watching.
No doubt about that. And that was another comment from Dave Van Horn yesterday, is that with those 2 teams joining, he feels like the SEC suddenly becomes a 13-team league, which obviously would be more precedent-setting. But it's that power league. And they mentioned that at the very top of the broadcast, how the way college athletics is moving, that mega conferences are basically in, and the SEC is going to be at the very top of the perch. Really, when you think about across the board, almost every sport, I mean, outside water polo and volleyball and stuff, the SEC is going to have major impact in every sport.
Yep.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.